It feels good. You basically think, wow, it's a rich world we're living in. And that's what I really like about this art fair.
Year by year, we discovered how broad an interest there was in this art, and now it's an international phenomenon.
This show itself, really almost all by itself, put the outsider artists on the roadmap forever.
It changes totally from one booth to the other, and even within one booth, you basically drop from one world into another and try to figure out what's going on here. And I think that's so much fun, and it's challenging and it's inspiring. And I think that's the big joke, or the big power of the Outsider Art Fair, is that it allows you to make a lot of discoveries.
And it's still evolving. I guess that's an important thing to consider on that, is that it doesn't stay in one place. It's different every year.
Well, the actual fair is the only fair of its kind in the world. So, by definition, it's seminal and it stands alone.
Now it's seen as part of the contemporary art world. And we have dealers here from more countries than ever before.
Andrew's purchase of the fair sent a shot across the bow in a certain way, because Andrew is someone who has a reputation in both fields. And very few people do. I mean, very few people are known quantities in both fields.
On one hand, it's very innocent. On the other hand, it's surprisingly sophisticated and forward-looking.
The journey that these works of art have taken to get to this point, and who the artist was, and to what extent they struggled and beat the odds in a way.
People really want something raw and genuine and warm and untouched by technology.
The stories behind the creators are really fascinating, and I think that gives it an extra edge when you know something about the experience of that person.
The artists are interested in personal expression. That's primary. The idea of art as a capital A is a secondary issue.
It comes from an artist who's trying to create a world that's so real that they expect that they're going to live in the world that they've made through their work. They depict utopian fantasies or idealized worlds, and through their work, I mean, that's their dream of what they want their life to be. They're building a world that they want to inhabit, and that's a very, very powerful expression.
What I find exciting is, what people do, what forms they invent, what fantasies or obsession they have, and how they put them into form. I just find it also very funny and touching.
Because everything is so filtered in our lives now, and with contemporary art especially. So, and I think that's what comes across, an honesty and a sort of true grit.
What it is, it's really refreshing to come here. I work in the contemporary art field. I just went to Frieze this morning, and coming here, it feels like, wow, there's like all this, there's discoveries to be made.
Well, if you look at the UK, I mean, last year alone there was like 5 or 6 separate exhibitions just devoted to outsider art. So there just seems to be much more interest in it generally, within the art world and outside.
Interest in self-taught art seems to come in waves. With the rediscovery of self-taught American painters, there was this new incarnation, this interest in so-called outsider art.
I mean, the number of artists who follow outsider art is incredible, and the amount of appropriation of images from outsider art by professional artists is incredible.
So you look at this last summer's Venice Biennale, where Massimiliano Gioni incorporated this material into the larger picture of contemporary art. And that's the way that we've always wanted it to be perceived.
Individuals working out there in their own style with their own extraordinary need to express their creativity, their vision, whether it was religious or imagined or whatever it may be.
It's not thinking, well, this is a self-taught artist or this is an outsider artist. They're just looking and saying, this is a really exciting artist.
What we call mainstream art is sequential. So, you know, you have a sequential form of art history, one movement leading to another movement, and one art school influencing students that go to another one, and so on and so forth. Whereas in outsider art, there's no sequence at all. Each artist is like a movement of their own.
It starts with the term itself, outsider art, which has always been a term that people have disagreed with, that we've constantly proposed other terms. And to me, that sort of linguistic churn points to a field that is unsettled, and that the more unsettled, the better. I mean, the more unsettled, the more the growth. That elasticity in the term, which some people see as a real problem, actually can be great. I mean, I see it as a really productive uncertainty.
We as curators or museum people have a hard time because they don't fit into our nice little stories, which I think that's the great thing about it, because it challenges us. So the question is, where's the problem? Is it the problem that they do things that don't fit the narrative, or is it the problem that we have the wrong narratives?